Welcome to ONNtv. I'm very proud to introduce three very distinguished gentlemen sitting to my left. The gentlemen with me here today are part of the Veterans Commemorative Monument Committee. With me is Reverend Phil Miller. We have Lieutenant Colonel Clyde Healey and retired Air Force Captain Bruce Pearce. Now tonight we're going to talk about the Veterans Commemorative Monument Project and some of the ways that we can become engaged as citizens in supporting this initiative. So I'm going to start with Clyde Healey. Clyde, can you talk to me about the history of the project? How did it get started? What was the inspiration behind wanting to start this project?
It all started after the Battle of Britain parade at the airport a number of years ago. The airport commission had just redone the parking lot, and as a result we had traffic going through the middle of the parade.
Okay.
So we decided that we had to do something different. In discussions with a colleague of mine through the Air Force Association, we said, well, why don't we have a monument on the waterfront where everybody can see it? From there evolved the concept of the monument as we know it today. It originally was going to be 3 separate monuments, Navy, Army, Air Force.
Right.
An architect told me that looked like a junk pile along the side of a highway, and he had a better concept, and that was Chris Tossell.
Sorry, Chris?
Chris Tossell.
Chris Tossell, okay,
Yeah.
so wonderful.
Yeah. So from there it has evolved. We had our first meeting with City Hall where we presented the concept to them on August of 2014.
Okay.
They approved in principle the concept to go into Rowswell Park on the boardwalk. And from that point forward, we've been trying to move with the project, raising funds and designing the project as a whole.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, Captain Pearce, can you talk to me about some of the things that you have been doing? What are some of the initiatives that the Air Force has been taking on?
Well, I represent 432 Wing of the Royal Canadian Air Force Association,
Okay.
because I started my career as an air cadet and then later worked with the cadets on the air side before I flipped over to the Army. However, what I noticed was over the years, a number of people have served Canada.
Yes.
From way back and prior even to the War of 1812. And for current serving members, they may serve 1 or 2 5-year roles on their contract, and then for whatever reason decide to continue on in their life in civilian life.
Right.
They don't have anything to commemorate them.
Right.
The war memorials in the Sioux commemorate the war dead.
Right.
Which is fine and appropriate. But we have nothing that commemorates those who served.
Okay.
And we can have people, when we have people who've done 2, 3 tours in Afghanistan,
Right.
left the military and have no recognition that they can wear that they actually served other than the Afghan campaign medal.
Right.
But others may not have gone into a combat zone, served in peacekeeping, and it's difficult when we see different countries in NATO
Okay.
giving their members a volunteer medal for doing one term.
Right, right. And you mentioned something very specific, those who served. And that is the inspiration behind the website itself, thosewhoserved.ca. So that's an important piece as well. So Reverend Miller, can you talk to me about the piece that, it was something I was reading that you have shared, is that it will be a place for people to become connected in a spiritual place, a place for reflection.
Absolutely. I'm the historian in the group, and we estimate that at least 10,000, if not more,
Right.
have served from the Algoma district alone,
Right.
not to mention our family members that are in various other parts of the country. And so to have a place where you can go and reflect on the fact of your service and other service and the freedom that we have is unique in this country, we believe. There's no other monument that we're aware of that connotes the same sense of appreciation for the service that folks did. They put the uniform on, they went, they did their piece, they came home, hung it up in the closet, and got on with their lives.
Right, right.
So.
Well, it's decorated behind you here is what this will hopefully look like eventually.
Right.
So let's talk about the steps that people can take, because I understand that if I'm from Sault Ste. Marie and I have someone that served, even if they're not living in Sault Ste. Marie, I can recognize them through the purchase of a brick. Am I correct in that?
The concept here is that anybody that lives in the Soo that knows of somebody that is either a member of the family or close friend and they want to honor them, they can buy one of these markers.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether they served in the Canadian Armed Forces or in the Armed Forces of an allied nation or a NATO nation. We also recognize in this purchase anybody that's been in the Canadian Armed Forces of an allied nation or NATO nation, anybody that's been in the Merchant Navy, anybody that's served in the RCMP, any police officer that has served overseas under the federal government's auspices can purchase a brick because they fall under the definition of those who have served and also fall under the definition in part for a veteran. So they're included in this concept.
And I also was reading about the cadet cadre. Now, can you explain to me what that is? What is the definition of that?
What that refers to is the cadet services in Canada are part of the Canadian Armed Forces. The officers are members of the primary reserve and therefore are entitled to membership in this concept, but not a cadet because they don't fall under the code of service discipline like the officers do and any other member of the regular or primary reserve. Okay.
Now let's talk about the brick, Bruce, if you don't mind. Just hold up one of those bricks. And let's talk about the brick. So does one name go on a brick? How do you see that unfolding?
Yes, the family consults with the commemorative group. And we're looking at the name of the individual and the organization he served in. That could be the Royal Canadian Air Force or the RAF or whatever. And unless it is a bravery decoration, we are not adding any post-nominals other than a bravery decoration like Distinguished Flying Cross.
So a Distinguished Flying Cross would be added into the brick?
From World War I, World War II type of thing, yes.
Okay, all right.
And this one happens to be Paul Delsig, 57 Squadron 5 Group, Royal Air Force.
So each brick can have more than one, will have one name on it?
One name.
Will the person who is buying the brick, can more than one person be on, will their name be inscribed in the brick, like the family's name, or how does that work?
No, the marker will have two lines. The line of the vet name and the line of the unit they served in.
Gotcha,
The donor that purchased the brick gets a Canada Revenue receipt for their donation, but their name doesn't appear, but it will appear in the final paper ad that recognizes all the donors.
The final paper ad, So if, let's say in my own personal family, if I purchase a brick for one of my service members from my family, and my sister, say, wanted to purchase a brick for that same person, would that be a conflict? Would we just go together and purchase one? Or can two bricks be purchased for the same person?
What our suggestion would be is that the two of you go in and buy the brick and make the other a donation. That way you've done both, made a donation to the building of the monument as well as acquiring a brick for your family member. The unique thing about these bricks as well is that they do not recognize the rank of any individual. It is only the fact of their service. And if there is a gallantry award, recognizing that as well. And that is a very important part of the whole concept as well, that uniform service, uniform recognition.
Right. Okay, well, thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll get right back to this. So thank you, gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. I'm here with three distinguished gentlemen, Bruce Pearce, Clyde Healey, and Phil Miller, who are all part of the Veterans Commemorative Monument Project Committee. So let's start with this. Phil, you were telling me about the inscription, about the engraving on this. This is absolutely beautiful.
One of the exciting things with having laser technology is that on the reverse of the monument that illustrates each of the 3 branches of service, Army, Navy, and Air Force, there will be illustrative materials that will show what they've done, so that not only are we talking about it, but we're visually depicting it as well.
Right.
And on the back of another of the plinths will be all of the various campaigns that the Canadian Army has been part of since the War of 1812 through to Afghanistan, World War I, Korea, South Africa. You name the battle, if we were there, then it'll be represented in some measure, as is the service of Canadians. Yeah, and the laser just does a marvelous piece of work there to illustrate the artwork.
That's beautiful. And now, Clyde, can you talk to me about the decision for the location for Rowswell Park and the fact that it's on the waterfront? Talk to me about the importance of that.
The idea of the whole concept of this program was to recognize the veterans that have served, to have some place where they or family members could go that is tranquil and has meaning from a historical perspective.
Right.
As most citizens of Sault Ste. Marie were, Sault Ste. Marie has played a pivotal role in Canadian history since the beginning.
Yeah.
When the French missionaries came here, the First Nations people were here, there's always been a role for Sault Ste. Marie.
Right.
Part of that role is the St. Mary's River.
Yeah.
And as I stated earlier, the St. Mary's River was the 401 of the 1800s. So that's where Wolsey's expedition went down when he went to go west to help quell the rebellion out west. That's where the trade routes went, that's where the travelers went. And by focusing on setting ourselves in Rowswell Park by the hub trail on the St. Mary's River brings the historical perspective of the service that has been completed here. And the design of the monument has 3 parts to it. And there's the main black granite monument that has the 3 crests of the Canadian Forces on it.
So that would be like a freestanding...
It's a freestanding, 30 feet long, 10 feet high, granite encased monument in black. To the east of that is a monolith made out of red granite, and on the face of that will be the coat of arms that came off the post office. Oh. They did renovations a number of years ago at the post office, weren't able to put it back up because of the lack of support for it. It's been sitting there waiting for us. Okay. We made arrangements through the post office and Heritage Canada that we could use that on our project, and they've agreed and are going to supply it to us. As Phil has said, on the reverse side is the list of the battles. Right. But also a part of this project are 4 statues. Okay. On the west side will be 3 statues, a Coeur de Bois, a First Nations warrior, and a British 1812 warrior. Oh, how beautiful. Representing the cultures that represent Sault Ste. Marie in Canada, and from its foundation time period. And on the east side will be a future soldier representing what the United Nations peacemaking forces are that we have today, and it will be representative of a female soldier representing the diversity that makes up the Canadian forces.
That sounds exquisite. Yeah. So Bruce, can you talk to me about the bricks themselves? So will they be laid into a walkway? Like how will that look when it's finished?
Well, the current concept is that they won't be in the walkway, they'll be on the side of the walkway.
All right.
And where people will be able to read the names and the inscriptions. Okay. That type of thing. Very so nice. That they won't, I've been other places where markers have been in the walkway, and eventually you have to repair them. And we live in a winter country, so
that's a really good point. Yes, yeah. My parents were telling me that there's a monument in London, Ontario, and that they've run out of space, that there's so many people that have purchased the bricks, and however that unfolds in London, that they have literally run out of space. So it is a project that I think citizens want to get behind. They want the opportunity to celebrate and honor our veterans. And there's veterans from Sault Ste. Marie that are serving, and the Algoma that are serving currently. We have some deployed right now. Lieutenant Colonel Knox was telling me about that.
We just had 2 come back from Latvia that were over there for the NATO operations in Latvia against the Soviet Union.
Right, yeah. So talk to me about the cost of the brick. What do my sister and I need to save?
Each of these markers sells for $150,
Okay.
and that was a price that was established back in 2014. And that includes the cost of the granite for it, the engraving, and the installation. Just to add further to what Bruce was talking about, along this pathway, in and around, are where the markers are going to go. We can expand that exponentially. So if we get 10,000 people, we can put in 10,000 markers. So when we designed the price or developed the price for this, it was based on the fact that the cost of the marker, the engraving, and the labor to install was based upon a quote of $75.
Okay.
So half the cost, half of the donation was the cost of the marker. The other half went to the construction of the project. That was 4 years ago, though. So this price of this marker is now increasing.
Right.
And at some point, we're going to have to consider a price increase.
Okay.
Because of the cost of the granite is going up, and it's in U.S. dollars. So.
Now, the Veterans Commemorative Monument project has received some fairly substantial gifts through, I think the Northern Credit Union has come into it.
Yes.
Your father-in-law came in with a substantial donation for a commemorative piece. What is the overall goal of the Veterans Commemorative Monument Committee?
The ultimate objective is $800,000.
800,000.
800,000. And that includes all the site development and the perpetual care for it and everything else.
Okay.
There is a lesser amount that we can go with should our fundraising not reach the 800,000. At this point, we're just going to leave it at that because we have options of how we can reduce the cost to achieve what we want to do. But to go further on some of the contributions we received.
Yes, please.
Scotiabank has committed to a program of $15,000.
Great.
We have a couple of individuals in town that have personally donated $10,000.
Wow.
So we have some very kind contributors to the project. And it's all those smaller amounts and those amounts that's going to achieve our objective.
Right. Now, how many bricks, do you have an idea of how many bricks have been sold?
Yeah, we're at just under 500 bricks sold.
Well, that's a good start.
And the advantage somebody has about buying their brick now, if they have more than one family member that they eventually buy for, or the family as a group buy for, we can place them together.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So that in my particular family's case, there's 7 of us.
Okay.
All of our bricks will be placed together.
Isn't that
That's something you can't necessarily do in the future if somebody decides they want to try and match up to an existing brick, because then you'd have to tear the thing apart to do it.
Right. Well, the legacy of the Canadian Forces is so strong in our community and in the district itself. I can see that the people will want very much to participate in this once they start to understand a little bit more about it. Do you have any more educational campaigns that you're going to be undertaking? Any events that you're planning? Or?
Yes, we have, starting in November, Bill Bennett, our co-chair on the project, will be doing more mall displays. He'll be at Canadian Tire in November. Okay. We are open to any organization that wants a guest speaker.
Okay.
We put on about a 20 to 25 minute presentation to inform them of the project and how they can help us out. So, and then there's our ongoing advertising program. So there's 3 things right now that are helping to advertise the program and get the word out to the citizens of the Sault.
Thank you. And when we get closer to the unfolding of the monument itself, do you have a date that you're shooting for to have this?
We want to have a particular portion of the monument amount raised before we finally put a date forward, simply to make sure that we have enough support to have the impetus to carry on. Because once we start, then it gets a little bit harder sometimes to raise dollars, but we're ever hopeful and moving forward, and every contribution at one of the mall sites or
online. Go to the website and do the donation. Right, right. Well, as we get closer to Remembrance Day 2018, I encourage the citizens of Sault Ste. Marie and the District of Algoma to go and visit thosewhoserved.ca. Look at the site, download one of the application forms, and find a space for your own family in there. And we will look forward to the day that the monument is ready. But Sioux Online, Superior Media, ONNtv, we're with you 100%, and you can count on us for any support that you require.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your service, gentlemen. Thank you for watching.